Chinese foreign minister did meet in Aussie, and
Yo,
they
yo,
exchanged their
YouTube, this the
official
boy
formal protest for
Cellio
what has been sort of a week-long
representing
escalating tensions, whether it was
Cellio
claims that Chinese sailor hit a Filipino over the head
Monsanto
with a baton.
trading. You heard me?
Yesterday, according to the
Right
Philippines,
now we're gonna get
the
into some
Chinese
trading
Coast Guard was shooting water cannon at Filipino vessels. The latest is around
on my
Scarborough
account
Shoal,
till
which
we
is the
get a
North
real account.
Hualien Island by the Chinese. It is up in the northern part of South
Time
China
to
Sea,
poke.
closer to Luzon in the Philippines, actually. There was other skirmishes involving that
Let's get
baton
to it.
attack, alleged baton attack by the Chinese down in the Second Thomas Shoal, which is down further south in the Spratlys. But still, two incidents over the course of this latest week have raised tensions between China and the Philippines that led to the official protest. Now, where this goes from here is another question. And
Let's get to
Xinhua
it.
News Agency, we can bring up the full screen a quote from the Chinese media, essentially quoting what the the Chinese Coast Guard did. If we have that.
Alright, we gotta take some focus trades.
Essentially, they took
Let's mark
control
out the
measures in
chart.
accordance with the law against multiple Philippine vessels engaged in what they called illegal activities within the territorial waters of China's Hualien Dao. Dao is island. So Scarborough Shoal. Now, we don't know what those control measures are. Is it further, is it boarding of the Philippine vessels? Is it, again, containing the conflict with water cannons? We don't know. We need to get further details. We don't have a correspondent in Scarborough Shoal right now, but it's clearly something that has led to a diplomatic issue, whether it's going to lead to further skirmishes militarily and, God forbid, any fatalities.
Let's mark up his chart right quick.
The Chinese foreign minister has said that he urged the Philippines to stop its maritime provocations.
I mean, Steve, you sort of hit the nail on the head there, thinking about essentially how this escalates any further.
There
Although
go the
it will be
break.
relatively contained, a big part of that is likely to be the US. I mean, how are we seeing President Trump or the US and White House responding?
So that's the range.
Well, we are seeing a story that President Marcos claims that he had a phone call with Donald Trump.
It's like the simplest way of trading. I have many forms of how I could get in and how I want to analyze the chart. You feel me?
We also had Marco Rubio in the Philippines this week, the Secretary of State of the United States. He said
So we just gonna wait for the break.
by the Chinese. And here you're seeing a general map of
To clarify, this type of trading is Mamba FX.
two islands and shoals, atolls in the South China Sea. China ascribes to its 9-dash line, which stretches all the way down to Brunei and Borneo, as you can see. But again, there are competing claims. Just on the Scarborough Shoal alone, China, the Philippines, and Taiwan all have claims to that atoll or that shoal. So we don't know how this is going to play out, but what we do know is just to the north of
Luzon, that play right there, we coming from the overboard.
That is the Luzon Strait. The 7th Fleet, we can bring up
it's the range.
as well. The 7th Fleet from the United States.
It just eats a blue candle. So we could go down, but the real strategy, see how we just wake up? The real strategy is when they break through this range. But you could go down by this confirmation. My last videos, that's what it'll do. That's aggressive trading, you feel me? But if you want to be sure, you see the break, then you could like really go in.
Complexity, if you will, with the United States carrier strike force moving into the northern part of South China Sea. At a time as well, when a big
my little brother, we grew up on the video games. That was the first. I'm the oldest brother, you feel me? And my little bros, I used to bring all the games them in. And my little bros was the one to like beat the game, you feel me? So I'll bring a game and my little bros just beat it one day. We still up all night playing the games. And then my little bro, he ain't grew up with the mix. He grew up after. He was born in 2004, you feel me? So my little bro, my other bros, he was born in the 90s. So my little bro, he became, I guess he got inspired Cause he been watching us playing games. He just got inspired and he became a gamer. So I was trying to tell him, yo, you should start recording videos and shit like that. Break to that channel and you see what happened. It break down. Bow, easy. But like I said, what I've been got in, how they do it aggressively. Got in, boom, boom, boom. But yeah, you're right. I used to watch G4 TV back in the day to look for cheats for Grand Theft Auto and all types of games. Yeah, you're right. I already had visions on that. Let me get rich. This would kick off everything. Everything that I wanted to do. So let me do rectangle, get down to that. Get this shit cracking. You'll go up to the highest point.
Addition to China tariffs are still relatively
Come
minor.
across.
Just pull up a chart. I think we might have
Across
still
above.
something that our Bloomberg economics colleagues have said at least
Shit
is quite
did. If it went down,
sort of
I'm out of luck.
to weather
But it
here.
went up. Wow.
Just there to give you a sense
So
of
this is
where
like a Mamba FX type of strategy. He don't wait for the breakouts, you feel me? This wasn't really a breakout, but you could consider it a breakout. Because it wasn't a lot of action, it just these two right there. So it was like kind of like a fucking breakout, but it ain't really a breakout.
That we've seen from countries so far, and where some of the biggest pain points that you were just
overbought territory, so we might get a little push up and eat this candle. So yeah, man, it's relatively going up. To what's out there. The thing is that these Section 301 tariffs for so-called use of forced labor, they've been made intelligent. No matter about that, so if stay below the thing, I mean, we're gonna get into algorithm, which means you're gonna catch it. No, but your probability have to be high. Number one, it crosses high right here. Number two, it eating some candles. So check this out. Watch your magic. Just picture it being $2, $4, $8. It's gonna be 80 though. Yeah, don't go a trend. I know that. Don't think I don't know that. This could increase the pain on them. For larger countries, not really sure how it's going to man, I might as well just switch, bro. Fuck that. Stages that the countries have had time to prepare to present their cases to the U.S. about their framework for looking at forced labor issues. We win anyway, but the wall has gone up again, and as we saw the last time the wall goes up, we get a lot of pushback from specific countries, specific industries, and specific items.
Yeah, that's right, John. And not least to say, even in this part of the world, Singapore's top diplomat here kind of warning, pushing back against those tariffs, warning against that potential collateral damage, doesn't want to be caught up. We had some responses also, pushback also from Australia and New Zealand as well. John Haskett, thank you so much for joining us.
For real, that shit ain't even went out, that bitch.
Now, coming up, we speak exclusively to Cambodia's Commerce Minister about balancing trade ties with the US and China.
I gotta do better than this shit.
Deals that harm its interests. That conversation is coming right at you in just a few minutes, so stay with us. You're watching The China Show. This is Bloomberg.
That shit great. You heard me. Double up on that. Ain't gonna be no fool. They hit the top. Now we going down to this bottom right there. You feel me?
More than what you need to know, it's what you need to think about. Don't let AI just call us out without you. With GitLab, AI works within your rules, so you can move fast and stay in control. GitLab, ship with control. We asked our kids to come up with app ideas for work. Their ideas were cool, not super practical. Kids don't know about the security, governance, and reliability that business operation apps need. Retail does, because building X isn't child's play.
This shit too easy, man. Stupid ass nigga. Mad. This market be mud. He so aggressively just went down and tried to catch me out. That shit aggressively went the fuck down, made me upset. So let me break this head down, yo. Once you make your range, and if it tried to break out, but then it looked like it coming back in, which it did, came back in, just now it going back down to the other bottom of the range, which is, so if we talking about high, which is the resistance, and go down to the support. I always remember that shit. You're gonna go right back down to the support. Hold on, what the fuck am I doing?
Here goes nothing.
Senior Helpers is the help you need to keep your independence and keep you, you.
That's some bullshit. You see that?
This is home care.
I went
This
down
is
to the
Senior
wick.
Helpers.
Said they come down to the support. That is some shit. That's a support right there, which it really did. Came down to the motherfucking support. But check this out.
Today, that's the China's top battery maker expected to report. We have a relatively low bar when it comes to kind of providing a boost. Their valuations at a year low, revenue expected 57-58%. Dave.
This market is going in a consolidation. That's why it's called a consolidation. But check this out. Stupid.
Medium price target, there's certainly implied upside. It's almost overwhelming buy.
Stupid.
H, and also when you look at the Shenzhen listing, that is even more so with more coverage. I think we're looking at
Check
40 plus
this out.
analysts. 46 buys, 0 holds, 0 sells, 16 times PE.
This ain't really hit the oversold for real.
China equity strategy.
So yeah, crash.
Also a keen eye on the auto space.
So
And everything that goes into that. Very nice to see.
for real.
Specific notes to watch.
Oh man, they want to jump back up. Yo, this market be angry.
There's been a lot of pressure. You know, after Q1, which is the stock did exceptionally well. They issued $5 billion in 8 shares. We all saw that.
Look over here.
Since then, it's just been
Oh
a pretty
man,
steady
so that means I
and
gotta
think a lot of that
fucking
is being
switch
driven by
positions.
a lot of this volatility around probably 2 specific things. The first is the domestic auto sector. It's continued to be weak, and I think that has become a drag even for CATL. The second is just this high volatility in the prices. This all lithium prices spike, I think back in April, May, almost up to $30,000 per ton in the futures exchange. It's back down about 150,000 now. So this volatility is giving investors, I think, a bit of pause on what the actual impact is going to be on the margins. What do you think it's going to be? The longer term stories. The longer term story, as you can see with all the buyer ratings, ourselves included, is very good. I think there's very little doubt about how strong the position of CATL is for a long-term investor. It's just there's all this near-term noise around the costs, around the demand picture in the near term that's giving people a bit of pause, especially after how well the shares did after the Q1 print.
Eugene, I want to ask here about the CXMT trading debut, this sort of mammoth debut that we're expecting to come through. Does that create any selling pressure for the sort of blue chip names like CATL?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yo, this market is funny, boy.
Liquidity siphoning phenomenon over the last couple months. You can even say even longer than that, probably into late last year as well.
Funny as shit. Let me zoom out.
Don't remember, like, don't forget that, you know, just a couple weeks ago with that SpaceX IPO. And
This market is funny, boy.
these big US IPOs. You had the CXMT IPO. You had a couple more 8-share big IPOs coming up as well. And that all seems to pressure a lot of that flow, especially in the Hong Kong market. From
This market is funny as shit.
I want to ask also, just sticking with onshore Chinese markets, what do you make of the sort of drop that we've seen in volumes? I think a 3-month low yesterday. Is this a blip? Is this something longer term?
I think that the volume picture will start to recover. I mean, there's a bit of seasonality you can imagine on top of that. But I think one of the issues is just there is so much euphoria, you could say, around that tech hardware trade earlier this year. And just seeing that start to ebb down.
It's like a Mamba,
Now,
the Mamba FX type of strategy.
giving up, you could say, on the AI trade.
I've been doing this, but the one that perfected it and made it something is Mamba, you feel me? So he like the breakouts.
Yeah, and I've seen you put up, there's a lot
And
of
he just
noise,
trail
a lot
it
of
all the
news,
way
a lot
up.
of information, a lot of listings, a lot of scrambling for your attention, really. Today, I want to ask you about this robo-taxi news, which is encouraging news, but the market doesn't seem to be as receptive to good news as it used to be.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think right now it is a deluge of different data points on tech.
That motherfucker nearly got me in the consolidation shit, bro.
What's the policy like? And there's just so much I think investors have to absorb at any given time that it makes it hard for any one piece of good news to stand out. Ironically, bad news seems to stand out.
Holy shit.
When you look at things like CapEx numbers, people seem to get very angsty about what's going on there. But the overall picture, I think, is it is difficult for any of these themes that really were kind of hot last year to kind of stand out today in this market.
Yeah. So how are you looking at that? Because that's interesting. So robotaxis and cars, and we were talking during the break on this. Most sectors seem to be heading in the direction of where autos are now, and the competition that they seem to be finding themselves in. How do you look at that as an opportunity or as a risk to any sort of sector call?
It's very difficult for China investors right now because the domestic market almost ends up going into that, the well-trodden phrase, evolutionary phase, right? And that's what happened to EVs. Arguably speaking, that could happen to robotaxi. We're seeing a lot of these new players. Currently, there's a 3 incumbents, which is Baidu, Pony AI, Rewrite. But, we saw the Momenta IPO come out a couple weeks ago, and they're looking at robotaxis. Horizon Robotics, another company, Xtend, another company. So you're seeing even more players moving into what was seen as a pretty kind of walled-off space, but that just doesn't ever seem to be the case in China.
Yeah, there seems to be a
Stupid
mode.
ass
There's
nigga.
50 people in that mode. And I think AI Labs is another good example. So what's the advice to
Alright,
investors?
let's
Whether
move
that's
on
sector,
now.
index, or
Crush
overall
that.
market strategy?
I mean, the simple answer is being only exposed to China market, it's very difficult. You have to make sure these players have a legitimate story to get out of China, effectively, that export story. So like a CATL or BYD for that matter, you can see that those overseas numbers continue to be strong. And even
We
with
deep
the
in our
robotaxi
soul,
sector,
so
the
Rico,
players
we
like
just
BYD, they're
we
very
just
clearly
came
trying to
in
say, we
and
want to
it
go to
tore
Europe,
the
we want to
second
move to Europe,
chart,
we want to go to
so
Singapore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to try to give investors a bit of, I guess, relief that they don't necessarily have to be, dealing with a lot of domestic margin pressure.
Okay, well, jury's out on
it's some aggressive trading what I'm doing, you feel me? So don't do that.
Thank you so much for coming in and taking the time
You
to speak
wait
with us
for
today.
this candle to finish and then go in. Cause you see you making new highs. Going against your candle.
Movers in the moment in equity markets, just was a recap of the big news in the last 19 minutes or so. Lots more ahead. Is this?
Now what happened? Now you have to fucking switch your position.
Equity
What's
indices
going on
retail
here?
premiums. That's the old way. The new way is Bloomberg Equity Indices, built using transparent, rules-based methodologies that are more responsive to changes in the markets, powered by 450 billion daily data points, and backed by research from hundreds of global
Make the high
experts,
rate there.
delivering benchmarks driven by the markets, not
So we
opinions.
gotta go up.
Bloomberg Equity Indices. Get a
Fuck
golf
that.
benchmarks for today's equity markets. Bloomberg Green returns to New York during Climate Week, powered by Bloomberg's award-winning journalists, bringing together the industry leaders, policymakers, and climate innovators to explore what's next in a transition to a more resilient and future-ready world.
The cost of doing nothing is getting bigger and bigger.
Front row seat conversations, building connections, and so much more. Join us. Bloomberg Green, September 22nd and 23rd in New York. Bloomberg Green returns to New York during Climate Week, powered by Bloomberg's award-winning journalists, bringing together the industry leaders, policymakers, and climate innovators to explore what's next in the transition to a more resilient and future-ready world.
The cost of doing nothing is getting really big.
Conversations, building connections, and so much more. Join us. Bloomberg Green, September 22nd and 23rd in New York.
Oh yeah, you're like honey from a jar. Make me wanna grab a spoon. Oh yeah, nothing sweeter than my baby, sweeter than my baby, like a honey candy.
All right, welcome back. We're going to breeze through some of the big movers and big sector news across these Chinese markets. To start things off with Geely, and as you can see, we're up quite decently today. This is on the back of this JV, joint venture formation with Ford in Spain, which actually might help, of course. It's runway outside of mainland China. China Intel supplier stocks. You've probably heard the tagline, Intel inside. These ones go inside Intel if you look at it through that sort of prism. On the back of the earnings reports overnight, and you had a decent move in Intel India going into the Asian session today. Some of the pharma companies in focus here in silico, and I think it's Xtalpi is JP Morgan has initiated coverage, and we're looking at an upgrade from the company there from the brokerage on AI drug potential. They're going opposite ways on both the stocks. We're planning more ahead. This is Bloomberg.
Looking for a simpler way to get Ethereum exposure? Get the Grayscale Ethereum Staking Mini ETF. The Ethereum fund with a low fee and staking rewards right in your brokerage. From Grayscale, the most experienced crypto asset manager. Just search for ticker ETH wherever you invest.
This shit's frozen. Alright, so one.
Oh yeah.
Let's mop up this chart right quick.
Make me wanna grab a spoon. Oh yeah, nothing sweeter than my baby, sweeter
Oh
than
wow,
my
that
baby,
shit pulled back.
like a honey candy.
Who are you guys?
We're your AI agents.
That shit
Great
going
work, boys.
down. Hold up.
Ship it.
It's the range right here.
Don't worry, we're all over it. We're letting our agents call themselves without you. With GitLab, you get speed and control. GitLab, ship with control.
Some bullshit. Went down.
Japanese markets are headed into the lunch break. In terms of, the market direction, don't need to talk about that. It's fairly clear on your screens. What we did get, just in case you missed that, were inflation numbers earlier on, and coming in roughly in line with expectations. And of course, the broader read across the rates markets is BOJ might need to move quicker. It does seem, of course, based on the reporting that suggests that's probably what's on the cards, given, of course, the exchange rate differential. And now with the information in oil and the Fed, and it's fully priced, by the way, currently on a Fed rate hike in September, that might even be the case even more so given everything else that's taking place on the macro side in the last Rebecca, the last 18 hours or so with inflation, oil, and yields all picking up globally into where we are right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's pretty precarious trifecta going on, and we're still watching, of course, the yen back closer to that key 165 level. But switching gear, thinking about Southeast Asia, we've seen Cambodia's Prime Minister pledging to step up a crackdown on transnational online scam networks operating out of his country. Speaking exclusively to Bloomberg, he told us international cooperation is needed to solve the problem, including between the US and China.
These are the cooperation to tackle common issues go well beyond geopolitics. This is for the interest of all countries. Criminal network can attack countries that they don't have alignment with political. Anything they can exploit, they exploit. They can attack both US and China at the same time for the benefit of money from scam operation or drug operation. So I see all this cooperation doesn't have to be confined within or be a hostage to, an area of what we call geopolitics. Sometimes it's too overblown when we focus on the negativities, but overall, the positive relationship between even the main, China and the US has existed for a long and multiple channel.
You talk about how these criminal groups are becoming more sophisticated. A UN report shows that now they're even acting like corporates, that they're using, for example, in the Southeast Asian region, some of these criminal groups, concessions within special economic zones to operate. And Cambodia has dozens of such zones. What is Cambodia doing to ensure that such zones are not being used to facilitate criminal activity?
Yes, we have learned from experience from other countries. We have, I give strict instruction to our security agency, work with local government, working with agencies in charge of the SEZ to make sure that no SEZ is being used. If any SEZ is found to be covering for criminals, then they will be liable just to the law, just like any others. So far, we don't have any evidence on those. We're very careful on this matter. So a lot of SEZ in Cambodia is a platform and the area for attract foreign direct investment in multiple sectors. So these are areas that keep growing, and we continue to hope to attract more investment and expansion of the business both in the SEZ and outside the SEZ. We will be committed, and we are committed to continue to crack down on this. And we have seen the results. We will make Cambodia become an area that's not easy or worth to stay for scam online. This is what our commitment, and we will continue to do so.
Thailand has halted discussions on the border issues as Cambodia sought UN talks on the maritime dispute. What is being done? What efforts are being made to restart border talks?
I heard the Thai leaders, especially foreign ministers of Thailand, has stated that because Cambodia go to UN clause that close the door for the land boundary. This statement I like to say a little bit inaccurate and a little bit unfair, based on two reasons. One, the reason why we go to the UN clause compulsory conciliation is because Thailand has decided to cancel the only existing bilateral agreement between Cambodia and Thailand on maritime, MOU 2001, which for 16 years, for 15 years, that most Cambodia and various Thai government, about 13 over 10 governments, have continued to try to work based on that, try to find a solution, including two previous Prime Ministers of Thailand, Prime Minister Sita Thavisin and Prime Minister Un Eng, during my time. That we work and try to find solution to the joint development and other areas. But unfortunately, after our warning, our request that Thailand not to cancel the MOU 2001, Thailand government continued to cancel anyway. So we have no choice but to go to the conciliation. Second, there's no conditions, no agreement or anything before.
There also seems to be misalignment between Thailand and Cambodia on what the UN talk should focus on. Thailand wants to focus and discuss the redrawing of maritime boundaries,
Yes.
while Cambodia wants to focus on the joint development of these overlapping areas. As a gesture of goodwill, might Cambodia consider
I think at
confining the
this,
scope of discussions to a resolution on maritime boundaries?
I think this point is too early. We need to go on, agree on the process of appointing the judge. Now we are working on the chairman. We have nominated two of the judges each side, and we need the chairman of the judge, the fifth judge, and we're still working on
So
that.
confining the scope of discussion for now
We,
is not something Cambodia.
it's not something that we have posed our two proposal to for delimitation and the demarcations, delimitation and also the joint development area for the decisions. But like I say, for now at this stage, let's focus on getting the process moving.
And April just there, and in fact, she joins us right now again live from Phnom Penh with her next exclusive guest. April.
That's right, guys. Joining me now is Cambodian Commerce Minister Chan Moon. Minister, great to have you, especially on a day like that where we found out that Cambodia is going to be hit as well with 10% forced labor 301 tariffs. That is on the lower end of the range, but there is also the access capacity component that's yet to be determined. What is Cambodia looking at right now? Is it still going to be 19% at the end of the day?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And thank you for bringing up the topics. Actually, we are at the moment when we are finding out the decisions on Section 122 and 301 on excessive capacities. It's resulting in what we see as a ongoing discussion that Cambodia having with the United States on our trading capacities. And yes, on the forced labors, we actually have taken additional steps with three specific ministry in line to enforce and to specifically show that we take great interest in preventing forced labor for importing into our countries. So with that, we know is that the ability to maintain below 19% is a possibility for Cambodia.
So are we looking at 10, 12, or somewhere closer to 18?
Within the range. That and also the fact that Cambodia is also on the negotiating path for a quotas systems with the United States as well, alongside with other few trading partners like Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, for specifically sourcing raw materials for garments from the United States and to be processed and re-importing back into the United States quota-free and duty-free in that sense.
Does it make sense for Cambodia manufacturing and supply chains? So
Very much. Our integrated vertical integration for garments is actually quite responsive to the raw material that's coming in. So, with finer quality resulting in finer outcomes of the product itself. The sourcing is the more the better, and our ability to be able to adapt and actually reducing the final cost of the products is what allow Cambodia to remain competitive in this sense.
what else is the U.S. requesting while these tariff negotiations are ongoing?
Many are on trade and custom duties facilitations. We're looking at electronic communication. We're looking at modernizing the system so that our customs differences can be taken into consideration, and how we are actually facilitating a lot of other understandings like standardizations, licensings, and many of the processings of manufacturing itself. So to us, those are great conversation as some of the very things that Cambodia has on our own agendas when we are gearing up to ready for graduation from LDC status in 2029.
Cambodia also having conversations with China, recently signing an MOU and trying to get some form of agreement that whatever trade agreements are signed with other third parties will not come at the expense of China. How did that come about? Who initiated that?
Well, this is a mutual understandings from Cambodia and China's as great partnership with each other.
China asked for.
Yes, yes, it was initiated by China with our participation in all of this. What's important is that, it's a great thing you bring it up because one great point I want to be able to share with you this morning is the fact that how Cambodia has always been remaining an open and reliable trading partners. So an undo of such, that we signed with China indicated how open and transparent we are and how we take in serious considerations the interests of our trading partners and to ensure that the sovereignty of Cambodia is also taken into account and the sovereignties and the interest, economic interests of our trading partners, all of our trading partners are taken to interest. And this through a proper consultation.
How is that going to work though? Because to not do things at the expense of China at a time where the US is still Cambodia's largest export market, and if push comes to shove, like what realistically can be done?
Actually, a lot easier than we think. In the everyday manufacturing and process of everything, we see the incomings of it's both sides of interest. In fact, if you look specifically just at China's and the United States as Cambodia largest trading, import and exporting market, it's actually a complementarity of each other's. So one would not be infringed upon another's at all. Cambodia will be serving as a platform that allowing a lot of the processings and the mobilization of economic activities, especially on the garment and footwears and textile specific industry, to flow in back and forth all across. So I believe it's actually enhancing an integration instead, So not something that I would be worried in the way you have had, projected it. So
what about worries given the border conflict, given how, trade is not coming in via the land border, and Cambodia did take in a lot of raw materials from Thailand prior to the conflict breaking out. How has Cambodian manufacturing adjusted?
they have been adjusting quite well. It has been 1 year. Despite the fact that land borders has been, a unilateral closure by the Thai side, but through the seaport and through the airport, it's still an ongoing. Thailand as Cambodia's +1 corridors has always been serving, but also at the same time, Cambodia has many other corridors that we are working on, whether it's with Vietnam and with Laos. So therefore, the trade routes is actually reconfigured itself, and we're also diversifying our importing some markets as well.
Mm.
So that we see a rising trend, and all of this is projected and indicated with our exporting numbers that still continue to be on the rise, which is surprising given the fact that surprising to the publics, but not to us. We have been.
It's not enough to offset completely though, right, what you're taking in from China or Vietnam in raw materials, because there's still quite a sizable reliance on Thai raw materials.
Well, it's still the nearest is always the best, of course, and sourcing costs, its logistic costs, and all of that. But at the same time, diversifying our importing markets has been serving us of great interest. With this, many other trading partners have been able to, lock into agreements with each other. So we are able to source far more. And what's important, we are sourcing from domestic right now.
Mm.
So that's what we are actually deeply integrating within and doing that vertical integration I mentioned earlier.
Yes. How is all these near-term challenges, if we can put it that way, actually, maybe diverting from some of the longer-term reforms that Cambodia does have to undertake because it loses least developed country status by 2029. Cambodia needs to start exporting higher value products, making higher value products.
That being said, actually, LVC's graduation is not a finish line. It's actually a milestone. And for us, it's reflecting the hard earns, and the sound policy that we have had all this time in order to achieve this particular milestone. So the next phase of growth for us is actually on, a domestic enhancement and competition in order to further integrate ourselves globally. And that's what it is. So yes, SMEs actually appear to be facing a short-term shock and challenges, but not without our very responsive governmental policies in order to re-coordinate and be able to remain agile and responsive to their needs. And that being said, a lot of the trade processing, a lot of the trade facilitation are undergoing right now in order to modernize and facilitate them and be able to stay on path. So that's small things, small shock here and there will not destroy our resilience.
Yep. End game in mind, stick to the goal, longer-term plans. Minister, great to have you. Thank you so much for the time today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
There we go. Play the long game. There's lots more coming up with Avril there, of course, our fantastic coverage out of Cambodia, with the Deputy Prime Minister joining us exclusively on Insight to talk about Chinese investment in the nation's special economic zones and the growth drivers behind those investments. We have lots more ahead here on the China Show and on Bloomberg Television, as you can see. This is Bloomberg.
Looking for a simpler way to get Ethereum exposure? Get the Grayscale Ethereum Staking Mini ETF. The Ethereum fund with a low fee and staking rewards right in your brokerage. From Grayscale, the most experienced crypto asset manager. Just search for ticker ETH wherever you invest.
Oh yeah, you're like honey from a jar, make me wanna grab a spoon. Oh yeah, nothing sweeter than my baby, sweeter than my baby, like a honey candy.
Resilience. At Shriners Children's, we're leaders in pediatric sports medicine. With expertise in sprains, tears, fractures, and other sports-related injuries, we're here to deliver the best care in the business and never allow your ability to pay for services to compromise the care your child needs. Because every great comeback starts with a game plan for empowering the extraordinary. Shriners Children's, the most amazing care anywhere.
All right, I'm going to make this quick. Stocks are down. Okay, why? Oil is up. Let's get to the oil story. Rebecca's standing by for us there. Rebecca.
Short and sweet on a Friday, Dave. I love it. Okay, yes, Brent crude holding above that $100 a barrel level after those strikes we've seen by Houthi militants on tankers in the Red Sea opened up a new front in the Middle East conflict. But ship tracking data still shows these two Chinese-owned oil tankers loaded with Saudi Arabian crude that have been able to exit that waterway. For more, let's bring in Bloomberg oil reporter Nicholas Guar. We're talking about this as if we assume this is a new phase. So if this is a new phase, I want to ask, how ugly can this get? And how is it different from this first era that we've already been through?
So I think we can think of the fuels crisis as having two phases, right, Rebecca? In the first crisis, early on in March, a lot of people panicked, and that's why we saw prices spike tremendously. And some of that came off as people realized that in certain parts of the world, like Asia, the crisis was not as bad as it looked at first. And as all these other solvers kicked in, right? So there was demand destruction, and that's across the board in like countries, like poorer countries in Asia, Indonesia, where demand is destructing. People are driving less, cooking less. In India, for instance, where LPG was the most hard hit, people went home to the villages and in a way stopped cooking with city gas from the canisters, right? So there are all these ways that demand could disrupt. And there are all these solvers like the SPR cargoes coming in from the US and all these governments from Korea to Japan releasing emergency crude for supply. A lot of these solvers aren't around in quite the same way the second round, and I think that's why we stand to look at the crisis. In fact, Europe may stand to be the epicenter of where this all blows out again the second time round.
So talk us through the Europe story, and in some ways, I was at the Bloomberg Sustainability Summit, and there was a discussion that Europeans may no longer have the luxury of being able to, for example, sustain those sanctions it has on Russia. I mean, what is the scenario that we're seeing at the end of the summer?
Europe's refining system is older and less advanced than the rest of the world. They started this refining a long time ago, and ESG concerns then were set up for closure, consolidation, and so on. So what that means is that Europe is entering this oil crisis with less refining available to produce the fuels it needs, and for a long time it's been a net importer, right? So it looks to places like India, the Gulf, to get these cargoes with the Gulf supply cut, with Asia's demand sort of pulling Asian barrels to the Asian basin. That means that Europe actually has very few places they can tap on, right? So it looks to places like the US to get some of these cargoes. And that's been done early in the crisis, but the US is also keeping its cargoes domestic, right? A lot of diesel is being produced for US consumption, it's not going to Europe. And what that means is that Europe doesn't have that many levers to pull, right? And its own domestic refining system already old themselves to start with, now is dealing with a heat wave. Now, refineries are very sensitive machines. They don't respond well to high heat. So with record heat waves in Europe, we're all standing by for more outages. We've in fact seen a few outages at plants already. And that just means that the crisis where it's going to be the shortest are the people who, in a way, can't afford it the most.
It's an acute crisis that we're seeing. Thank you for taking us through Europe, Asia, Southeast Asia. That's Bloomberg oil reporter Nicholas Loire there. And just let's take a quick peek at how Asian markets are doing as we head into the break. Dave said it earlier. It's not a good day for equity markets. The Hang Seng down 1.5% or so. Kospi also really hurting, nearly 6% there. Stay with us. You're watching the China Show. This is Bloomberg.
Behind every great golf shot is smarter manufacturing. AT&T Business helps connect the factory floor and the supply chain, offering precision in every swing.
This is an app. It's a fun app, but it's not an app for work. Apps for work need all the serious stuff: governance, security, reliability, to scale safely and securely. Because building apps isn't child's play.
Don't let AI agents call the shots without you. With GitLab, AI works within your rules, so you can move fast and stay in control. GitLab, ship with control.
We're seeing some very impressive year-over-year performance.
Do you know which ads are driving that revenue?
Great question. Attribution is really more of an art than a science.
Get rid of the guesswork. Connect calls to ads with CTN.
Welcome back. Just before we wrap up the show for the week here, just to take you through some big stories for tracking in the market. We'll start things off this big HSBC announcement. So Allianz is buying HSBC's Singapore life and health insurance business for $2.1 billion. They have also agreed to a 15-year exclusive partnership, allowing Allianz here to provide insurance and other products to HSBC customers in Singapore. Now, the sale is part of the bank's streamlining efforts under CEO Georges Elhedery. Okay, staying in Singapore here, GIC, that's a sovereign wealth fund there, will deploy an extra $30 billion into hedge funds. That's the allocation, of course, over the next 3 years. The group CIO, Brian Yeo, told us that GIC has already tripled its hedge fund investments over the past decade without giving a specific amount. He identifies global macro and quant and multi-strategy funds as their key areas of interest. Right, our key area of interest as we go into the Pick of Friday is really the pain we're seeing across EMFX, perhaps with the exception of the South Korean war in this specific graphic. You can blame geopolitics, you can blame oil, you can blame this repricing around the Fed, which is fully priced for a hike in September. Yes, tariffs are also part of that equation. So in fact, the Philippine peso, we just used this earlier on, all-time lows on that. And I would watch, by the way, in the next hour, the Indian rupee. When you get oil prices moving up, similar dynamic to what we're seeing here. That should also put some pressure on the Indian currency next. Equity markets are not in good shape. So we're going into the weekend with some really strong downward momentum, and unsurprising given what we saw overnight in the U.S. with massive sell-offs across the tech space. So Korea is at session lows. We did get the sidecar triggered yet again. It is, as Anthony Stevens, our market reported, its sidecar season, and has been so this month so far. A very quick glance at the Hang Seng Index. We're about an hour and 30 into the cash market session. They're decently holding up compared at least to what we're seeing elsewhere in the region. A glance at what we're looking at on the other side of this weekend. So on Monday, It's a CXMT trading debut, Zhongji and the light as well. That's in Hong Kong. CXMT is on the mainland. Central bank decisions fighting the BOJ. Of course, a ton of earnings still out of the U.S. and the macro side in China. July PMIs are also coming out also next week. Okay, so that's it from us here. Have a good weekend. We will see you all next week. Say hi to the team. See you all on Monday. This is Bloomberg.
There is no greater passion in football than for our national team. Because when our country is playing, our nation stops to watch history unfold. We share the dreams, the joy, and the despair, united in national pride. Discover the passion that fuels a football nation.
Bloomberg Green returns to New York during Climate Week, powered by Bloomberg's award-winning journalists, bringing together the industry leaders, policymakers, and climate innovators to explore what's next in the transition to a more resilient and future-ready world.
The cost of doing nothing is getting bigger and bigger.
Front row seat conversations, building connections.